What's up, everybody? It's me, the weirdest dude on the internet, Kanye West of tacos, Aaroneous blades. Gonna go over a couple things. YouTube video. I don't do these very often as I should. Got a project. The higonokami has been a couple years in the making. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. Blade holding specimen, the specimen steel. Folding knives being that, in my experience and observation anyway, is that like the archaic laws of restricting certain kinds of folders is ridiculous, because the handle and the way you carry it and so on is the delivery mechanism of this steel. Why that's important to me is because my steel is special. And comparing things side by side without doing an individual breakdown of what you're comparing. Got some examples here. Spyderco VG10. This blade is slippery sharp. I keep stuff like this around to clean my fingernails, and one day I did, and it just went and took my fingernail. Very sharp, very slicey. VG10 will have its limitations. Great edge steel. However, you have this whatever plastic Spyderco uses. The handle and delivery mechanism with the clip on there and how you carry it in your pocket. That's the sheath, right? That's what it does, same thing. Whatchamacallit. Couple other ones, another Spyderco. And there's these great steel, good steel, 8 CRV, theory, whatever. The grind on Spydercos is fantastic for this. So it's great for that. Super steels and exotics and stuff, you're gonna run into a point of their hardness and hit brutality, become brittle and prone to chipping and stuff like that. Unless it's specified, to be a tough steel. I don't have all the experience in the world with. Maybe while we're doing the thing here, throw some sparks, compare some 1095 heat treated, if I can remember all this. Higonokami. The higonokami is what brought us here. A couple years back, friend, knife maker, buddy, sent me my first one, like, Japanese steel, and this cool delivery package. It's very simple. The steel on these, from what I've heard, it's one dude makes all these, and can basically carry sand mine, paper, Itachi, different steels in this primitive slip joint package, right? It's cool. But what this is doing is carrying the steel handle. You get what I'm saying? There's going to be an inherent weakness that doesn't quantify the rivalry or criticism of any given steel, because at or around this point is going to be, that's where it's going to be weak. The hole through the blade steel may or may not crack and break away. The pin is going to be prone to breaking and handle separation. All of that combined does not truly represent the blade steel. And that's what you see with, what I see with things like comparing VG10 Spyderco grind to, I don't know what to compare that to 95 high carbon. And at that point, slicing ability being relevant. You also have impact and spring and torsion. Twisting and torsion, this is my favorite thing. This is, out of all my springs, the springs in the world, the torsion spring is my favorite of all of them. And that's what I install in my steel. It's a little bit of IP. You're listening. Figure it out. Where were we? Yeah, so with the pin being the pivot being the weak point of the knife, it's not fair to compare stabbing ability or prying or torsion, because it's somewhere in there. The handle pivot, it's gonna break, and it's not gonna do the steel true justice when you're stacking them side by side, as well as grind geometry being pertinent. Real important. How do you like this light? Spent like 5 minutes rigging it up. Yeah. So, video not about my personal stuff. It's about the carrier mechanisms of steel themselves and doing them justice. Grind geometry, packaging. At the end of the day, it's how it all comes together that makes folding knives cool, and what they do. Cheap Kershaw spring assist. The geometry on this blade also pretty nice. The steel's not the greatest. It's easy to maintain because it is so soft. It takes a toothy edge and 400 grit paper or whatever. We'll slice. I don't know what the steel is, but if we were doing a scientific physics, engineering, the inherent weak points of a folding knife are not going to do edge material, blade steel justice. Moving forward, got this one, higonokami, some years ago, and the purpose was to play with it, learn about cheap tossers, low-end fighting, self-defense tools, utilitarian, practical things. And these are super practical because of how flat they are, and they weigh next to nothing. I think this one was stainless. Splashed it with the acid carbon steel blade. Nothing fancy about it. Easy to maintain, whatnot. But when it came, I'll show you compared to the new one. Gear hacking, personal EDC gear hacking. This is the intro to that. That's all tacoed out. You can see massive, you can see all the way down in there. Alright, so when they're like that and they're loose and it's easy to flip, what you have happen is the edge is knocking on the stop. That's what's stopping it. So all this is a friction. It opens and closes until there's contact. It's brand new. very similar grind to what I do, and I think that's why these have been given to me a couple times now. We're doing a video. Pay it forward, let you know what I know about them. Alright, so rattling, tapping, not good for the blade, not very tactical. Let's fix that. With things laying around that you could do at home. Gear hacking. That's what we're doing right now. We're going to gear hack this higonokami. Fix the taco so that it doesn't. Yeah. Got a couple little drawings to kind of explain that for the visual as it is. You could see the camera there pretty good. That's what's happening. We want to pinch that in. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can make it so that these sides intercept the bevel. That's what I've done on mine. It will still click, but that friction, hear that? That's where the break is because of the modification of the gear hack. Let's fix the new one. Basic tools I have laying around. I think Buddy said this was black iron. Got a nice black with the brass going on. I beat on my stuff, so in general, if this were just me, this one. Give a shout out. Thank you to our sponsors. Mountain Dew. I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. Finish. Whatever finish you got, because what we're going to be doing is going to be changing the metal and creating events on the surface of the steel to change the shape. So if you have a nice one or an expensive one or a fancy one or any knife that you're modifying, you don't want to get it scratched up. Pro tip, and put this both, use this a lot of times on edges that are stupid sharp and I don't want to cut myself. That goes over the edge. That's not, but this is just going around the handle to prevent scratches because it's pretty black, the brass and Japanese engraving, whatever that says. Anybody know what that says? Made in China. Got it wrapped in tape. I have a variety of tools behind me to show you how easy it is to start hacking. You will have these things around, you know, a hammer. I have some pieces of leather that kind of serve as a dolly tap on while I'm making manukis and all that sort of thing. What else do we got? My vise, my little machine vise. An anvil, couple different pliers. And if you're going to be squeezing on your metal, the handle or the blades or anywhere this is going, these are going to have contact with your workpiece. Wrap them up with the tape, electrical tape. You can even plasti dip your tools to an extent. I'm not going to keep them abrasion resistant forever, but you can coat them. They last a while. Electric tape does alright too, temporarily, because you're squeezing and applying pressure, and that's just going to cut through at some point. Getting to it. Blade. So if this were me, I would just take it to my vise and go through probably like this. Start squeezing it, figure out where the pinch point is, narrow it up, flip it over. Squeeze it, building that, or reducing the passage so that you hit the friction point sooner, so the blade edge is not knocking on the spine of the knife. Alright, follow me, still with me. And the other would be kind of a S shape, tentacle arm. I'm not an engineer. I didn't go to engineering school. I just know how a lot of this stuff works. I like the technical names, even though I know they exist. Alright, so some of you probably don't have a vise like this. Next thing would be pliers. Hit the edges with a little bit of tape, and be mindful that if we squeeze through or press too hard, you're gonna mar your steel, and if you have a pretty surface, a nice finished thing, it's gonna scratch it. You're gonna be upset, especially if it's expensive. I know how y'all be. Put some tape on here, get to wang jangling, fidget it around, and kind of see what works as we're shaping it. Come on, tape. Put another piece because I folded them the wrong way. I feel like I'm doing one of those videos, YouTube videos that really satisfying to watch, but I'm making it. Those weird guys. Committed, what are we, 17 minutes in? What else? What are these called? I feel like these would be common things that you would have, and if you didn't have painter tape, or you don't want to spend a lot of money, again, these higonokamis are very, very entry level price. Like, they're cheap, bro. Cheap. That's part of how I came into having two of them through the mail. I got awesome friends. Alternatives to this, that, and the other, looking for stuff I have laying around here real quick. Grab some cardboard. Doesn't have to be ultra fancy or sophisticated to work, right? If you don't have leather, you don't need to go out and get it. You can make paper as a barrier from the surfaces that are going to be used to leverage the force to change the shape of the handle, right? Another thing we can go ahead and do is look down, see where the contact, see where it's making contact. Like right in there. Kanye West, the taco's the weirdest dude on the internet. Alright, so we have two marks that are about the same, and since this blade, the edge is relatively straight. Let's see if we got a straight edge. Should I try not to use any of my Pro Tools here? Normal stuff I would use to gauge straightness and so on. Alright. You can see that there's a curve, but how much of a curve? That give you an idea. Yeah. Now, based on the lines that we have established on the side by looking down, we know where we want the pinch points to intercept the blade so that it stops doing that knocking thing. So that's counter-tactical to your specimen carrier. Like, why make a switchblade illegal? I can just, by the time I do this, you're hitting the switch. It's silly. It's archaic. And, alternative methods, things we could use. Really, I mean, if you wanted to work at it and just pinch it and use a board or your weight on your kitchen table and work it down, you can. I just did that and it made a difference. Peel this back a little bit so we can see better. Come on now. Entry level to gear hacking, because this stuff that we use and carry, carbon steels, even the stainless steels, they require maintenance. They require oil, they require polish, the wood handles gotta be min-waxed. The leather needs to be, taken care of because we're going through seasons and moisture, humidity, oil, fingerprints. Those things will cause rust. Got to maintain your gear. So the best way to get really intimate with that is by hacking and modding it and making it personal. Unless, you're a specimen carrier that's safe queen it and sell it and whatever. The beep. This video's a go. Been around a while. All my early videos on IG would have the watch beep in the background. So getting back into it. Where's our mark? Here. And here. We're going to go ahead and open it up. Be very conscious that this is a live, sharp factory edge. I did strop it about 10 times, to which point, it's a slippery slicer. Great slicer. Not going to be a stabber because the transition point is too risky. I mean, in a worst case scenario, yes, and you'd be conscious about how you're moving it so that this doesn't go close on your fingers and incapacitate, leave DNA all over the scene, whatever. Things you don't want from your own knife. Carry a fixed blade. So, pliers, tape, both of these are taped now. Let's kind of work our way down. I even have a torch out behind me because I wasn't sure about this steel. Blue tempered steel is, until I've been doing it, into it as hard as I am, I can look at steel, tap it on, and get a rough gauge to what it's gonna respond like. This is apparently pretty soft. This is working easy. Blue spring steel will want to bend back, or it's not going to cooperate. Softer metals like brass and copper will distort. They'll be soft enough that it could take this shape, but also, small events could completely change the shape of your handle, and not in a good way. I'm just kind of working this down and being mindful of where the contact is taking place, because that's what's reshaping the handle to make it not do the clicky. Test it. Still. Oh. We're getting somewhere. I don't know how these are made. I'm guessing a machine just like is fed whatever handle material and cranks out these and folds them because they're very consistently in this same shape. What was I saying? Thanks for chilling with me, everybody that's watching this 25 minutes in. Gear hack. But yeah, it's leaning to one side at this point. We've got it tightened up quite a bit. Right there. So if we can, we want to move this side over, and that's kind of where the third diagram we got to work in, so that it will take that. Am I saying it backwards? Because we don't want to make this side any tighter. It's already touching, and we need them to intercept. If we squeeze the right direction going this way, we can make it do that vase shape, bumblebee hind end sort of thing. You with me? It's still following. 25 minutes into a ramble about folding knives. I love folding knives. They're great. They're a convenient package for, like, you can, some of it's a 6-inch knife folded up folds out into what, 10 inches of But a lot of times what we run into is alloy critiques based off of blade specimen carriers. I don't like folding knives to be the judge of a steel's quality, because you don't see a folding crowbar, and that's actually a practical function that you're going to want out of your knives in a disaster scenario. I want to pick up with this point as the fulcrum if I need to extract a rib cage or something. I do have one that is an option. Thanks, Julian. Yeah, the blade steel itself is not going to be represented in the whole thing. Back to the hack. Alright, so how are we going to do this? We need to walk this side in, keep this side the same, maybe tweak it a little bit, continue on. And it's slippery. See how it got better in the, it broke that in. Squeezing it down allowed the tension here to, man, Mountain Dew, this stuff tastes like melon burps. Hey, soldier. Whatchamacallit. So the pivot action opened up by squeezing it. That's a good thing. Comparing it to the old one. I carried this a lot. After I got it, it went into my job site pocket, in my pants pocket, all the time at work. This thing has seen some miles. These are great knives, we got some oxidation built up. That's another way to break them in. If you want, you can use some sort of abrasive, you pumice, get that in there and work it around, because these are riveted with a hardened steel pin, so you're not taking it apart by any means, but what you can do by pumicing it and working that action around with whatever WD-40 is it polishes the two surfaces that are mated inside there. It makes it silky, slippery, smooth. This one's pretty good at this point. I feel like it might change when we go to squeezing the top, so I'm going to implement a little bit of a different method here because I can. And you don't need to either be limited to, poor man's method with, not even poor man. You could be creative and get results with not a lot. Alright, so my two pieces of leather, I believe I mentioned earlier. And what they do is they just kind of absorb the shock of the surfaces that I'm going to be performing events on. Events are, I don't even know what you call it, microtransactions that change the shape of the steel, compression, work hardening, things of that nature. Is this a hardenable steel? Don't know, but when you go moving crystals around and pound them together, they have a tendency to become denser. Yeah. With that being said, whatever steel, if I don't know about these, if you move them around and harden them too much, they can become brittle and prone to cracking. And you would be looking at doing something like annealing, just lightly thermocycling it to relieve the stress out of the microcrystalline structure, whatever alloy that is, be brass or copper or stainless. So when they're folded, that's an event that creates, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it and experienced it in different ways. It's really easy to get a visual from aluminum because the shear fatigue. It's easy because aluminum's soft, but it turns white in colors and stuff, and that's leading to cracking. The surface of the alloy is changing and deforming at that point. If that were to happen, you want to anneal it. Get a little torch. Your culinary guy, as an example, lighter. I had 6 lighters a minute ago. Right? I'm not going to do this because I don't need to, but it's another thing to be aware of, that any heat in an intense fashion or capacity concentrated on your steel will change the temper. It's going to change the hardness. It's going to make it softer. Most likely, there are some steels that heat treat in different directions. Titanium, for example, not hardenable, but you can do stuff to it that's different from steel. So heat is bad for the blade. However, if you had a locked in pivot like we do here, and you were coming across like cracking or color distortion that would be concerning, you can anneal it to relieve the stress. subject relevant metal ramble because I love metal. Really passionate about this stuff.